simple, but it's not too easy as well. Let's understand how the context fits in text. For example, let me just show you, and then we'll move to Power BI. I'll show you a little bit point here. Then the same point we'll implement in Power BI. So here, what I have is something. I have created a small report here to see how the context affects the text. Okay. So, for example, here we have the same measure. We have the same measure which is created for total sales. We have created a single measure for total sales. So this first one is showing me the total sales. The second one is showing me the total sales by year. Same measure is showing me the total sales by year. And the third one is showing me the total sales by product ID. Okay. So it's the same measure value is being represented in Power BI in three different contexts. One is the total sales. The second one is total sales by year. And the third one is total sales by product ID. Okay. So this is all the visual. They are using the same measure, but they are representing it in a different way. And even now, if I'm selecting 2015, if I go back here and if I'm selecting here from here 2015, so as it is highlighted here, it will filter the data in all the three visuals. It is showing here the total sales for year 2015. It is showing me here that the data is also filtered for year 2015 sales only. And here it is for each and every product ID, it is showing the sales of year 2015. Okay. So similarly, we can select for 2014 and any other year as well. So the measures are connected with each other as well. Okay. So how this all filtering is going on, we need to understand that. So for that, what we need to understand is a very important function called as calculate function. So that's what my agenda to explain here is the calculate function. What exactly the calculate function will do for you? The calculate function, the name is not able to represent what exactly this calculate function does, but the calculate function is used to add a context, whatever calculation you are doing with. For example, you are creating a total sum of sales, but you need to add a context of it. There are two contexts of calculating the total sales. One is just calculating the total sales, which is we are doing here, just calculating the total sales. And one we sometimes need to put a context inside that. Okay, I want to calculate the total sales for year 2015 only, or maybe for year 2014 only. I want to create a separate measure for that purpose. Okay, so let's see how the DAX will help, how the calculate function will help inside that, and then I'll come back here. So let's first go to Power BI and let's talk about these measures. So first of all, we have here in our data set, if we go to the sales measure, let's start doing it practically now. You can see here the new measure and quick measure options are available. So as I told you initially, if you remember that you need to click on this three dot ellipsis button to create a new measure. So first of all, what the first thing I want to separate the year portion because we don't have the year value inside the sales table. So what I want to create a separate year column inside that, a custom column for year. So what I'll do is I'll go on to I'll click on this three dot ellipsis button and click on new column. Yes, definitely you can go to if you remember, we have already discussed in a lot of detail that how to do the same thing in Power Query, and even it's very simple in Power Query. But I am explaining you how to do it with the text as well. So what I want is I want to fetch the year value. So I'll use the year function definitely. There is a year function given. It is asking me which date column, on which date column you want to apply it. So I want to apply it on sales table date column. I want to fetch. I am asking Power BI to fetch out the year value for me out of this date for each and every value. Hit enter. It will generate a custom column for you with the name of year here. You can see here. By default, it is giving summary of it because it's a numeric value. So by default, it will automatically create the summary of it. For example, if I go here and if I put my year value here, it will create, because it's a numeric column and it has already summarized it with the sum function. You can see here, it's already summarized it with some function. That's why it is representing it in a numerical, in a graph in a numerical format. I'll convert it into a table and I'll ask Power BI not to summarize it. So for that, what you will do is, if you want to remove the summary, you don't want any calculation on, I want separate value for each every year. So what I'll do is I'll click on my visual. I'll go here on the year value and I'll click on don't summarize. I'll ask Power BI, don't create a summary for this column. It will represent me all the values separately now. I have the year values separately now. Great. Okay. So we have created a separate column here with the name of year. Now what the next thing we want? The next thing which we want is the total sum of revenue by for year, particular year 2000, maybe let's say for 2000 or 2015 or whatever you want. Okay, accordingly. So what I'll do is I'll go to my, I'll once again click on the sales, this three dot ellipsis button. I'll go to a new measure. I'll click on a new measure. Okay, I'll rename it is with revenue by. When you are creating a new measure, it's always preferable to give a very user-friendly name so that your other team members can understand it very simply. Otherwise, you have to manually explain them each and everything. So it's sometimes very difficult as well. So it's always best to keep the name very simple. Maybe it can be longer, but yes, it's okay. You just make that user-friendly so that they can understand it themselves. So revenue by year 2015, use the calculate function. Inside the calculate function, automatically when you write a function name, it will ask you, the Power BI will give a suggestion to you what exactly the number of arguments it requires. So it needs the expression. Expression means some kind of calculation. So I want a calculation on revenue column. So I'll apply a sum function. Sum function on what? Sum function on sales table, the revenue column. Great. Close the sum function, bracket of sum function. Okay, comma. Now it is asking you the filter to apply. So you want to apply a filter on year. I am using a year function, and I want to separate the year with date of this sales date column. I'll use my sales date table for that purpose. And I'll say, let me check out if the brackets are closed properly or not. Yes, I think it's closed. And now I'll say it should be 2000. Let's say we are talking about 2002. I'll say I want to calculate the total sum of sales for year 2002 only. Great, done. If you see the expression once again, oh sorry, I have given 2002. I have named it as year 2015, but by mistake we have kept it for 2002. Let's rename it so it will be much easier for you to understand. So let's rename it by year 2002. Why I am keeping 2002? Maybe because we have good amount of data in 2002. So it will be clear for you to understand that. That's why I am keeping it 2002. Great. So now what I want, if I select my this measure, the revenue by year 2002, we can very easily find out the value, which is somewhere around 31 whatever. And what I'll do is I'll go to my format pane and I'll ask the value to represent in millions. It will be more easy for me to understand. Okay. So I'll go here on the data labels and display units in the millions. I'll make the data label on. So it's very easy for me now to understand. And I'll increase the size a bit so that you can understand it in a very simple way. Yeah, it's 318.61 million. Great. And if we select the total revenue, now you can see in comparison, it's 41913.25 million in total. And this for year 2002, it is 318608 something. Okay, that's 318.61 million. Great. So you can create a separate visuals accordingly. Now let me show you a very important point here. I'll do one thing. I'll increase the size a bit here as well so that it will be easy for you to understand. So I'll go to the values option and increase the font size a bit. So it will be more easily visible for you. So now if I select any filter out of it, let's say for example, I click on 2007. Can you see here inside this filter, because this is already pointing out to year 2002 only, nothing can be filtered out of it. But this data is getting filtered for year 2007. It's highlighted the year sales of year 2007. Similarly, it highlighted the sales of year 2003 and maybe 2011, whatever. This will always show a fixed value of year 2002 because we have set a context properly at the time of creating the measure using the calculate function. So that's what the point is. Calculate function used to give a context to your calculation, whatever you are doing. Yes, definitely this, if I release it once again, and let's say, for example, if I select the data for, let's say, if we go back here and we select the data category wise. So if we put the category, if we select a category wise data, let's increase the size a bit so it will be easy for you to understand. Let's go to the values and increase the size a bit. Great. So now if I select the data for urban category, let's say, you can see the data is filtering here inside this revenue measure of revenue by year 2002 as well. It's now showing me revenue in year 2002 for particular urban category. If I go to rural, same thing it will be done. It will show me the revenue of year 2002 in rural category. So that means what? It will not be affected by year value, but otherwise all the other filters will be applied on this as well. So it is doing the calculation on the fly. That's the first benefit of it. Creating the measures that whatever filter you are applying, it is doing the calculations on the fly. Okay. So remember this calculate function, a very, very important function. We'll use this function n number of times in upcoming part of the modules, because the calculate function helps us it's a very, very useful function and a very famous function as well in Power BI, because in DAX especially, because it makes us it makes very simple for us to represent the calculation in the context what you want, whatever you want. Accordingly, it makes it very simple for you. Okay, so make sure that you practice it. You try some with some different context as well. For example, I want to see a average of sales for urban category separately. I want to create a separate measure for urban category. Mm, for urban category, yeah, the total sum of sales for urban category separately. Don't worry, because the measures will not occupy the memory. They'll just be loaded here, but they will not occupy any memory. So it will not occupy any space. Plus, it will not affect your refresh performance. Great. So let's go back onto the slide and let's understand what these points we have discussed here. So that's what my agenda was to explain you. So make sure that you're understanding it, that the year how the differences shows. Okay, and remember one point. It is if you select here in this example, I have created a measure for year 2015 here. This is the total sum of sales, and this is the year for total sales, and this is the year sum of sales for 2014. Sorry, but remember that it will not be affected if you select any other year, but it will be affected by all the other values. Right? So go ahead and practice these. In the next coming part of this module, we are going to talk about some more other functions. We'll see on how to work on these quick measures as well. I'll show you the agenda of working on these quick measures. What exactly is the meaning of these quick measures, which we were talking last time. So what kind of calculations we can apply from quick measures, we'll have a look on them little bit. We cannot look all of them. Yes, definitely we'll look the important ones. And otherwise, I'll show you some more important measures from Power BI, from DAX, which will be very helpful for you. And how the data modeling affects the relation, how the relationship in the tables, the data modeling affect this calculation, that will also I'll show you. So keep your data model ready. Start to work on your measures. Start already visuals. We have created a lot. So we just need to learn how to put extra measures and columns inside here. And we'll be very soon, we'll be ready to work on any kind of report. Any kind of data is coming, any kind of report we have is needed. We'll be able to do that. Okay. And we just need to start creating the dashboards. Great. So practice it, and let's set up the remaining part of DAX in the next half.